The USFL Gambling Podcast Week 3 reaction show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Shady Rays. Yes, SGPN's teaming up with Shady Rays for our Shady May. Yes, get 50% off your Shady Rays using the promo code SGPN, and then go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win $500 in cash. And remember, folks, as always, to let it ride.
Football is a unique American experience. A game described by one turn-of-the-century critic as crude and barbaric, with little chance of survival. But survive it did.
I don't give a damn who you are. This is America, Jack. You know how to play winning high-low football?
Being played in the United States Football League.
Oh my God! The quarterback is toast.
We sometimes forget that football being a consummate team sport is a great deal more successful when you do play as a unit and don't rely on individual talent. Frankly, I'm impressed with the USFL.
America, this league is good for America, and football is a sport that is made for television.
That is football.
Unlike spring football is going to work in America.
You play to win the game. And now it is time for our USFL report.
Boom! We are back on the USFL Gambling Podcast. This is our week 3 reaction show, and I mean, come on, let's just cue it in.
There are those who say that the fun has gone out of football, that it's become too predictable. For them, let me present 30 seconds of football, USFL style.
The USFL, where football is still a game.
It is still a game, and week 3 is done. It's in the books. Some surprising outcomes, and look, you might just be sitting there wondering, who the hell is talking to me right now, screaming at me? Look, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm dying in this fucking country-ass fucked up town. Shit flying in my mouth. The fuck? I can't see pollen. Let's get the fuck out this country, motherfucker.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist.
Unload the whole internet on him.
You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Woo! Yes, I am unloading the whole interwebs. I heard there's rumors on the internets, said George W. Coming to you live. I am in New York City right now. A little Times Square action. It's not to like. All right? People getting shit hammered right outside. It's like Hollywood Boulevard, Patty C. Oh, I'm revealing. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing.
Hi. Well.
There we go. Internet kind of shaky here. Kind of shaky there. I don't know. Something's happening. We got a little rain action. Yeah, I don't do that long distance shit. You know, the long distance pod. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. That was an entertaining week of USFL football. And yes, a couple of upsets. You know, you might even say 3, but certainly 2. You know,
I mean,
all of a sudden, this is a league that isn't so top heavy. It's a league of parity.
Certainly looking like that. Let's just get right into it, because there were some very surprising outcomes. Starting off with Breaker 1-2. Come on in now.
Real quick, before we do the recap, do we want to talk about some of the news regarding trademarks?
Well, we know they trademarked last year the Washington Federals, the Chicago Blitz, and the Oakland Invaders. But seeing today in the news that, some great things could be coming soon. Let me just pull this up because I know I had sent this to you guys. They have the USFL trademarked the following teams. The Austin Wranglers. Remember, they were the Arizona Wranglers back in like 1984. The Baltimore Stars. People don't realize that the Philadelphia Stars moved to Baltimore. Maybe that's a better market. I don't know.
They just do this every time.
The Boston Breakers. Remember, the New Orleans Breakers were in Boston and also were in Portland, but New Orleans were I think they got the most games. Maybe I could be talking out of my ass. The Dallas Stallions, in case they ever want to move to Dallas, maybe. I don't know why. Birmingham seems to me like a win. Denver Gold, we know June Jones used to coach for Denver Gold. They had Vince Evans, a quarterback back in the day. Los Angeles Express, that's a classic brand right there. Steve Young, Kevin Mack, Mel Gray, all played with the Express. The Oklahoma Outlaws, folks, Doug Williams, played in the USFL before he won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins. That one makes sense. The Portland Breakers, which, like I said, the history is there. And the San Antonio Gunslingers, and you know what that means right there, because I've been asking for this one for so long, buddy. I mean, it just feels like a match made in heaven finally, knowing that the potential is out there for them to bring home one of the greatest names really in all of sports, as I fail to find where this theme song is right now.
While you get that dialed up.
Yeah.
I will say that, them getting the trademarks for both the Boston Breakers and the Portland Breakers doesn't indicate that any move is imminent necessarily. Maybe they're just covering their bases in terms of getting all their trademarks in order,
Well, I think it also tells you, if they're buying all these, that this is not a one and done or two and done. Yeah. They're invested fully in it. And by the way, San Antonio Gunslingers, let's just give them some respect.
There you go.
If you see him on the street and tip your hat his way, you'll know just where he's headed and which game he's gonna play. He's a sharpshooting gunman and always aiming high. You win any gunfight, his limit is the sky. We're the Gunslingers on San Antonio. We're the Gunslingers.
They don't make them like this anymore.
That is why, me and you were talking the other day, and I was saying, like, USFL's doing a great job. Like, I preferred Spring League. However, I want them to dive into the fun more. Like, to me, they're like, I'm very happy with what's going on, but they're kind of copying the NFL a little too much for me.
Well, the Maulers have the exact same uniforms as the Steelers. They're the most imitation Steelers team ever. That doesn't mean they don't look fantastic. In fact, I think their uniforms are actually better than the Steelers. I hate to say that.
I want them to dive into that. Like, to me, like, if they were to call 1-800-PICK-DUNDEE and hire old Pick Dundee here, the first thing I would do is stuff like helmet cars, stuff like have the cannons in the end zone that shoot off. I would also, have songs like this and like those old 80s rap videos that the Chicago Bears and the Redskins did.
Get the band in the stands.
Yeah, honestly, like drink specials, I wish they would just let's have some fun. All right, let's have, like, everything's going great. I want to see the Oakland Invaders, the San Antonio Gunslingers, the Washington Federals, the Memphis Showboats came back and they kind of failed. They failed the test to me as far as,
the great thing about that is it's still like pretty fluid in terms of like what they're willing to make moves change. I mean, they just changed the colors of the Maulers, so they say, hey, the Showboats look idiotic. Let's change them back to their classic look,
But I want them going all in. I dig the fact that, to me, this was great news, getting the Gunslingers, because me, I've lobbied. Tampa Bay Bandits are a classic team. Memphis Showboats are a classic team. We need those teams in there. But to me, the Washington Federals you have to have in there.
Well, and that's the thing with the XFL right now. If the Defenders win that championship and the XFL survives, there's going to be competition for that DC market.
That's why they got to go in my opinion, like next year.
Yeah.
You got to go in next year. Like, I know it might be bleak the first couple of years because DC's got, the defenders have a 2-year head start on you now, essentially. But just go in and go in right now because, well, another thing is you also have Snyder leaving. You got to get in now, in my opinion. Like, you got to get, even if ticket sales are shit for the first 2 or 3 years, get in now.
Don't let them get a huge hold on that region.
Exactly.
Even though they're cool. Let's be honest. DC defenders are cool, but the Feds, I think, could be cooler.
Feds uniforms are fly. So the Feds, to me, the ones that are super important are the old Memphis Showboats, not this trash uniforms that we have now.
Yeah.
Some of the other franchises like the Houston Gamblers are classic. Some of the ones that are already there, but I want the Tampa Bay Bandits back in this thing. I want the Washington Federals. I want the San Antonio Gunslingers, the Denver Gold. The Oakland Invaders are like one of the coolest names to me, one of the coolest uniforms and franchises. And knowing that how Oakland's just got they lost the Warriors, they lost the Raiders, they lost the A's now. Give them something to root for. And then I would probably I don't mind the LA Express. We've talked about this on this very, not on this very show, but on between me and you, that I also think they should not stop there. I think they should buy some of the original. The
LA Express is a terrible mascot, and let's be honest with it. But there is history. Steve Young played for your team.
Yeah. I mean, to me,
you get a little bit of a pass.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a pass there. But to me, that's what I'm saying. Buy some of the original World League names. Talk about the California Sun. You can have them play in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Some of those old school teams, Chicago Fire, I think it was.
Free plug here. Follow Dead Football League on
Yes.
on Twitter.
Yes. Shit, you could probably buy the Iowa Barnstormers. Bring them into the thing. Some of the World League teams from '91, the second rendition of the World League, Sacramento Surge or whatever, or I bet you could probably get the trademark for the CFL, Sacramento,
Raleigh Durham Skyhawks.
Yeah. Go get those because they got history. That shit would be cool. This would be cool.
Exactly.
But I do find that news exciting. And look, before we get to the games, folks, I want to tell you that the USFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Shady Rays and Shady May. Yes, Shady Rays is teaming up with SGPN for Shady May. Not only do you get an amazing 50% off, but you also get a chance to win $500 cold hard cash. Yes, Shady Rays has you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much, much more. Shady Rays has durable frames and extremely clear optics for all those outdoor adventures you like to go on. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the absolute most insane eye protection in all of eyewear. Yeah, every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements, or lost and broken replacement, however you want to say that. Because look, let's say you're at the Liberty Bowl, had a few Jaeger bombs in the parking lot. You went in there and I don't know, you forgot your sunglasses. You got in a fight. You broke your sunglasses. Doesn't matter. They got your back. They're going to send you a brand new pair. Not even going to ask any questions, so you can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they got your back long after the purchase. So, and look. If you don't love them, you can also exchange for a new pair, or you can return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Go to ShadyRays.com. Use the promo code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Then, if you do that, take your receipt over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win $500 in the Shady May contest. All right, we are back on the USFL Gambling Podcast, and looking at that first game, Birmingham was a 6-point favorite on Saturday. Woo! The Breakers, the Breaker 1-2. New Orleans Breakers put up 45. Now, here's the thing. First off, big fan of McLeod Bethel Thompson. He goes for it every time. I don't care if it's like the second quarter and it's a 3rd and 5. He's a little bit of a lawn chair, but he goes for it. He's not
chucking the ball.
That's what I'm saying, dude. But I'm talking like he goes for it as far as like he'll run on like a 3rd and 5 and completely sacrifice his body. Doesn't matter the quarter.
Yeah,
I
mean that's
admire
kind of the
that.
anti-lawn chair.
Yes, that's true. He's like the anti, but that's what I mean. Well, he doesn't have
He's a
like
slow ass, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Is like he's kind of he doesn't have super great athleticism, but damn it, when I watch the game, I end up being a fan of him, even though I had money on Birmingham. I lost money on this game, and I feel like everybody was on Birmingham, and this is one where the injuries caught up. I feel like. New Orleans was the better team throughout the whole game. I mean, New Orleans' offense. Wow.
Yeah, they got up early by 2 touchdowns and kind of just kept that buffer.
483 yards of offense. They had 22 more plays on offense, getting 7.3 yards a play.
Yowzers.
That is getting your ass kicked. Now, I wondered, and remember, Birmingham took the opening kickback. So they got destroyed after they basically went 45-24 after the first play of the game.
When you put it like that, that is kind of an ass kicking.
Well, here's my thing. Birmingham's got just so many injuries. I wondered if that would catch up to them. I didn't think it would be this game. I thought it would be when they played, a couple other teams perhaps later in the year. But maybe this is maybe it's a good loss for Birmingham to get their shit together and, Bo Scarborough, Scooby Wright, maybe they're playing. I know, obviously, Victor Bolden left for the XFL late, and then Marlon Williams is out for the year. They have a slew of injuries. I mean, I looked at the injury report from this past week, and it was like 15 guys.
Well, I'll say this. Yeah. Not having Scarborough, just having CJ Marable and Zakondre White back there, they're kind of a one-dimensional offense a little bit. I mean, they're still a relatively they're a well-coached team offensively, and they're explosive even without Scarborough, but he does add that extra element where if he can just pound in the tackles, then he completely opens up the edges too.
Yeah, well, and to me, another thing is Jamar Smith's mobility. Now, Mago's got some wheels, but Smith was able to get a lot of yards. I feel like I know he's not a flat-on running quarterback, but he could do a little option read and get 10, 12 yards at pivotal points. I feel like they're going to have to learn to do. I mean, he's out for the year. He's not coming back.
So, I mean, Mago does get out of the pocket. He's got a little
wiggle,
scrambling ability, but and maybe picks up a little bit. You're right. You're not going to see him go on many 25-yard runs down the field.
So, I mean, that was impressive. And McLeod Bethel Thompson, I love his whole story. First off, kid out of San Francisco, played for Sac State, the FCS, and he's 34 years old or something. He's bouncing around all these leagues, won't give up on the dream.
Love it.
I love this guy, man. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. So
20 of 28, 71.4 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Those are good stats, man.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't a fluke. They whooped their ass. Now, this could be a good wake-up call for Birmingham because I feel like they had been in cruise control after winning by 40 and then just kind of getting the best of New Jersey in the first game. So maybe and what do they have on deck? I feel like they have Pittsburgh, and we'll talk about them in a second. But should be interesting to see how they respond to really kind of getting their ass whooped at home in Birmingham by the New Orleans Breakers, who are the only undefeated team left in the United States Football League.
You gotta love it.
Gotta love the clarity there.
Wes Hills, 191 yards on 34 carries, 3 touchdowns. That's something I don't think New Orleans really had last year, right?
Well, they had Anthony Jones. They didn't like to commit. I feel like actually they might have had the league's leading rusher. I feel like that might have been. But because remember, Scarborough got picked up week 5. Victor split carries with Trey Williams. I want to say
Thompson had a lot of yards.
Yeah, but I think he even got dinged up. I want to say New Orleans, Anthony Jones or who was their other back that they had last year? I think one of them led the league.
Oh, maybe I stand corrected.
No, but they didn't really commit. They were not. I mean, I guess this.
I don't remember them.
They were a pass-happy team, I believe.
Yes, exactly.
I'm looking at right now 2002 or 2022 USFL rushing stats. I I believe, though, because I was doing Jordan Ellis. That's who it was. Jordan Ellis.
It was a good back. So yeah, I guess they did have some running last year.
He led the league in rushing. He led the league in rushing with 596 yards. I mean, that ain't killing it, but
yeah,
that's shocking to me.
I mean, shoot, Wes Hills did half that almost this game, so they're definitely a different team. You know, a little tougher than they were last year.
Oh, for sure. Well, Sloter killed them with interceptions at the worst time. McLeod Bethel Thompson is the opposite. Now, Sloter, I still think is a quarterback that should probably be starting in this league. I know he's backing up at Birmingham, but if you're Pittsburgh or Houston or some of these other teams, you should have gotten Kyle Sloter. But anyway, that was a shocking game. Then game 2, which was actually probably score-wise the best game of the whole weekend. And this was a hilarious game because you essentially had the Memphis Showboats playing at Houston, but it was in Memphis, Tennessee, so home away game. And Houston looked like they had the game in control. Memphis then went on a big run, a crazy touchdown to take the lead with a minute left in the game. Kind of reminded me of an old Monday Night Football. Remember that Jets-Dolphins 35-7 comeback on Monday Night Football back in 2000? Lavernius Coles had a touchdown just like this, where it looked like an interception, and it ends up being a touchdown. This happened in this game, and then so you're thinking Showboats got this. No, Carnell Lake and the Showboats defense, not only did they give up a ton of yardage the final drive, they had a complete breakdown on the final play of the game. I mean, not the final play of the game, but the final key play of the game.
Yeah, the final touchdown of the game. 13 seconds left.
Yeah, and where just a wide open throw. I mean, shit, I could have.
They're playing some kind of, I think maybe like a cover 2 or something, and the corner dropped with the wide receiver, and the a linebacker in the flats didn't.
How do you fuck that up out of a timeout?
Especially when the ball's on the 10-yard line. How do you,
out of a timeout? Out of a timeout too. It's like you had time to say, guys, we really need to be in our places here. All right, this is what we're doing. And it's like, I would understand if they're doing no huddle, and you're like, okay, and you're just kind of scattered. You're going, oh, let me figure this out. No, this was out of a fucking timeout. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, I know you are a God, now I'm drawing a blank.
Todd Haley, the worst coach in the
league. Todd Haley. To his credit, I mean, you call him out for having a breakdown defensively, but he's an offensive coach, and they moved the ball down the field and took advantage.
That touchdown was even. That touchdown was kind of an interception, but then a touchdown.
You're a hater. You're a Haley hater.
He sucks. Their roster is better than Houston's and Pittsburgh's, and they they look like the worst team in the league. Their roster has more talent, in my opinion.
Cole Kelly's your stud.
He's a lawn chair. Now he is a lawn chair. Either way, interesting outcome here.
Kenji Bahar, better, not just one interception, a pretty bad one, pretty almost costly one. But they end up getting, and Mark Thompson, did you see that run?
Oh, he's a fucking beast, dude. He changes everything. I would have played him in DFS if I knew he was playing. Dude, what he bitched like 3 guys on that play?
Yeah.
He looked like Earl Campbell. Yeah. He looked like Earl Campbell on that run. Like if you haven't seen that run,
where you got the popcorn mode.
The defensive back that comes up after he fucks up the first guy, and then Mark Thompson just throws him on his ass essentially. Yeah. Oh man, dude, let's be honest. When that guy's healthy, you can make a case. You can make a case. I know, last year, Darius Victor and Scarborough got all the attention.
Yeah,
when healthy, Mark Thompson, I think, deserves to be in that conversation. I don't understand how he's not in the fucking NFL. This guy's good.
Yeah. He is.
He's legit really good. He popped. You know how we saw Avante Turpin last year and he just popped on screen?
Yeah.
Mark Thompson, I felt, was the same way. I mean, in a power mode, not in a speed type of way, but
yeah.
I remember the first
Legit.
gambling game last year, and I was like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "That." Give him the ball,
right.
and he, as you see, he's finally healthy. And what did he run for? I'm drawing a blank here. It was I got it right here. 21 for 81, 2 scores. So I guess average wise, just 3.9 yards a carry. But also had 32 yards receiving, third leading receiver on the team. So altogether, over 100 yards. And the Gamblers are off the schneid. They got it. They got it done. What?
How about the Showboats' commitment to the run? 15 total runs. Their leading rusher is their quarterback with 17 rushing yards.
And he's a lawn chair. This is what I mean.
Meanwhile,
Classic
38 passing attempts.
This team sucks, dude. This team.
Yeah, it's easy to hate Todd Haley, I guess.
I cannot root for this team. It's just the same story with the Bandits last year. It's hard to root for. I want to root for them, and I can't. I just can't. So Curtis Johnson gets his first win of his USFL career. Shout out to him. And the Gamblers get it done. And we'll see. We're going to talk power rankings in a minute here, but there's life now. If you these teams that were winless, that got wins, not the Showboats, but Pittsburgh, Memphis, there's a little bit of life. There's a little bit of life there. We're going to talk more about it in a second. But I want to tell you that the USFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Best Ball Mania is here with Underdog Fantasy, and we're giving away $15 million in prizes. Yes, plus plenty of ways to win with the NBA, NHL, and MLB because they have their awesome player prop parlays, which are always fun. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by, the Kentucky Derby. Yes, it is Kentucky Derby week, folks. And the Notorious OTB podcast, brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. For all your Triple Crown bets, you got to check them out. If you leave a review for the show, wherever you get your podcast, between now and Belmont Stakes, essentially, which is Saturday, June 10th, you'll be entered in a drawing to win a canvas print of the Wolf, a.k.a. the Wolf of Oaklawn, our friend, Chase Sessoms, who hosts that thing. One-of-a-kind Fallen Bob painting. Yes, Fallen Bob painting. You got to check it out. It's post time, folks, so get on over there. Check out the Notorious OTB podcast, one of my favorites. I've been a guest on this show several times, talking ponies, so hop on over there. Get yourself a mint julep and kick back and watch the Derby. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right.
Is there a more delicious drink than the mint julep?
I me and my wife have talked about this before. Like, she doesn't really like mint, and it drives me crazy because, to me, this is like peppermint patty or the Andes mints. Yeah, I think are some of the best versions of candy.
They are delicious.
But NC Nick hates them. It's one of those things where like half the world loves them, half the world hates them. But there's hardly any people that are like in the middle.
Yeah, it's true. Although I feel like peppermint is particularly like spicy and like crisp, where a mint, just a smooth mint, like the green mint, it's delicious. Like all right,
like a mojito mint.
Mojito, exactly. Yeah. Boom. You give me the mint julep. You give me the bacon wrapped scallops at a wedding, and it's heaven. You want to have a good wedding, mint julep and bacon wrapped scallop, and you're done.
There you go. There you go. And a little 2 Live Crew on the turntables.
That's right. That's right.
Let's go, folks. Let's get to Sunday's action because shocker, my lock did not hit. I thought this was a lock. Well, yardage wise, they definitely outgained the Maulers, but still the Maulers. Reuben Foster, I almost said FBS, USFL Defensive Player of the Week. The Philadelphia Stars have some problems on the offensive line, buddy. And I almost feel like I kind of feel like if they played again, I shouldn't say this because I think the Philadelphia Stars are a much better team than the Pittsburgh Maulers. But I think Pittsburgh has the perfect remedy to fuck with them whenever they play. I think even last year, one of the games I saw, There's something about the style of play that the Maulers do. Now, you look at the box score, you see the Stars outgained the Maulers by like 33 yards, right?
Yeah.
They got 4.1 yards of play to 3.7. Here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. The turnovers. Case Cookies couldn't get it done. First off, the Maulers won this game by throwing for 67 yards. Can we talk
10 whole completions?
And then you have the Stars. Case Cook has 2 interceptions. Also, there was a big fumble in this game. Matt Colbert, 16 yards on the ground. They could not run the ball on this team. And then also, when it came to pass protecting, they had their issues. I feel like the whole game, they had their issues. And it's the same thing. We talked about this on the XFL Gambling Podcast, which I host as well, with Greg Williams being the Washington Defenders defensive coordinator. It's funny, like one of the things that I was on Hoops Peterson's show last week, and they were talking, me and 2 other guests, about, DC gives up the most yardage on defense. And I go, but that is misleading. Greg Williams' defense is creating turnovers. They're getting after I actually think it's one of the most stressful defenses for a quarterback, because you never know where your blitzes are coming from. And so to me, there's many ways that I feel like I'm Jerry Burns here. There's many ways you can win a game. All right. But this is a perfect scenario too. Is like, yeah, the Stars outgained the Maulers, and the Stars, if you watch that game, their offense looked much better than the Maulers the whole game. But the Maulers
gain all the yards you want, but if you throw critical interceptions, then
and they just had them off beat. It's like out of rhythm. They didn't know where the blitzes were coming from. They were getting beat on their 1-on-1s, like with their tackles. Yeah.
That Olive Sakapolu dude for Pittsburgh looks like pro. He looks like NFL.
Dude, say what you want. I know they're playing in Canton, but they kind of remind me of like the Steelers in like 89 when they were kind of ass, or 88. What year was it? Like late 80s where they –
I would say like 91, right before like they figured out a little bit of offense, when they still had like Lewis Lips and Merrill Hodge as their running backs, but they're just getting after it on defense.
It's like they got ballers on defense, but then Bobby Brister is still your quarterback.
Right.
That's the Pittsburgh Maulers right now, but they get the win on the money line. Huge.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, dude. You talk about diving into the fun. For anyone who like loved 80s football, or like hears us talk about how great 80s football and early 90s football was, the USFL kind of has that with these teams. Not every team is exactly the same. And these 2 teams are so polar opposite. In the NFL, I don't know how often you're going to get a team with 1 attempt versus another team with 36 attempts passing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've talked about that a lot. If you know me from the college football show, or the Sports Gambling Podcast show, like where I talk about what I loved about the 80s NFL or early 90s was the variance. You'd see the run and shoot teams with June Jones, or the K-Gun with the Buffalo Bills, and then you go up against Joe
Gibbs,
who was actually doing all this crazy motion and stuff, or the West Coast offense. And then you would have like your Ditkos just still running the ball 85 times a game, like the Wisconsin Badgers. You would have this variance throughout the league, and I felt like it made for the peak of my viewing experience in the National Football League.
Oh yeah, it's what makes college better than the NFL. But this has it too, and we're worried about college football, but the USFL is a light of hope here.
True, and what a great win, man! The Maulers beat the Stars, and then Ford Field, Bobby Hebert looking like. Look, I love Bobby Hebert, former Michigan Panther. Damn. He looked like he was 95 fucking years old. But shout out to Bobby Hebert. I'm a fan, and original OG Michigan Panther, him and Anthony Carter. So they then hosted the New Jersey Generals, and man, Darius Victor and DeAndre Johnson were on. They were on. Dude, did you see that long run by DeAndre Johnson?
Yeah, dude, he is lightning fast.
Dude, it looks like you're watching like Sterling Sharp run it, or I don't even know. You might have been too slow. It looks like you're seeing like Andre Johnson like just run a touchdown. I mean, and Darius Victor, man. He's he's criminally. I say this as a guy that he got a lot of coverage, but he's the most underrated player in the league.
Dude, he's a cartoon character with that body. I feel like he's bulked up even more. Like a moving fire hydrant. We haven't seen a body type like that since like Jerome Bettis, I don't think. Or young Jerome Bettis.
So the Generals win 28-13. This was my money line play of the week, so this hit, thankfully, because my lock was complete ass. But, I mean, the Generals got out to a 20-3 lead and then just did enough defensively. They had 377 yards of offense, almost 9 yards a play, more than double what the Michigan Panthers were able to do. And as we just alluded to, interesting. They didn't go with Dakota Prokop in this game. They just said, DeAndre Johnson, here's the keys to the Cadillac. 10 of 15, 67% pretty much, 180 yards, 12 yards of completion, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and then 98 yards on the ground. And then Darius Victor, 68 yards on the ground, but also Victor had a 51-yard touchdown catch. Fucking, they got guys, man. And
Victor looking like a 2-time MVP here.
He's a stud, man. He's an absolute stud. Right. What is he averaging every week? I feel like last week he was averaging like 10 yards a rush. Get the guy. He's actually not getting the ball enough still, Pat. Like, I'm sorry. When we talked this last week and he was getting 10 yards a rush, he still only got 9 carries and 10 touches. To me, I know Mike Riley is a very good offensive coach. In fact, we should even highlight that one play where he
right now, you're right. 3 games, 32 rushes for 228 yards. That is 10.7 yards per
He needs more touches, man. If I'm head coach and I'm sitting there being like, wait a second, this guy's doing this. Why are we not giving him? He's like, that would be part of my game plan. He's got to have at least 15 carries.
Yeah.
You know?
Although I will say this. Wes Hills, I'm looking at this too. 3 games played, 52 rushes, so almost twice as many. 17 yards per rush, 17.3. Dude, someone studied that playbook.
Yes. I mean,
they run the ball in the USFL.
Oh, much more than the Extreme Football League, and that's why I'm kind of more on board with it. But, buddy. And as much as I want to kind of give Mike Riley a hard time, I thought it was, man, did you see that play where I know you saw this when they had kept creeping up on their wideouts and Mike Riley's mic'd up and he's like, hey, next time you come up, sell it and you break deep. And it was like the very next play they got the ball, or the next possession at least. They did that exact play for an 80-yard touchdown or something. Alonzo Moore touchdown.
They got a little aggressive in the jam coverage, Michigan did, and New Jersey made them pay. So nice bit of coaching there by Riley.
Well, look, normally I don't really care for like the mic'd up coaches. I really don't. I actually think it's like overkill to me.
Yeah.
But it is cool to see when like that instance when you saw like he highlighted it and then the very next possession they took advantage of it. And that's something you're like, okay, this is something that could be beneficial. Most of the time we don't get this shit. We get Todd Haley complaining, which he did again, by the way, after the game. I don't know if you saw that. He was getting into it with Curtis Johnson about a helmet to helmet or some shit. But he's the worst. Get him out of here. But yeah, anyway, man, it was cool to see like the coaching adjustment and then it worked the next
I mean, talk about the perfect example of what you want from your coach or from the mic'd up, here's a coaching adjustment that you can hear. Oh, it works to perfection.
Yeah. And I think DeAndre Johnson, or was it Moore, that's running down the sideline, pointing to the coach as he's running down.
Yeah, he's like, "You're a genius."
Yeah, he's like, "This is all you, man." So, but dude, let me ask you this, because remember the Generals got a little robbed week 1 with the DeAndre Johnson touchdown that I thought was a touchdown. I feel like most everybody that I've talked to thought that was a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are they the best team in the league? I know, because you take that touchdown there, that game plays out completely differently down the stretch.
I think it's tough to say. I think the Maulers are a great example of how matchups and styles make it tough to, you can say that, yes, that game was close, but I do think that Stallions were the better team on the field. Even if you give them that, they're still down 7, then they have to, instead of kicking a field goal, which they missed, make a touchdown. They lost by 2 scores in that game. So I think that I can say the Stallions are better on the field against New Jersey, but that doesn't mean New Jersey's not better against other teams.
True. Fair. And speaking of that, let's get to our USFL power rankings because I'm sick of dancing around this shit. Who's your number one team in the United States Football League, Patty C?
Well, I don't think there's much suspense here. New Orleans Breakers.
The only undefeated team left. You're not. I thought you might try to sell me on the fact that you know what? Here, how about this? No.
Wow.
You know who's number one, and they're going to prove it this Sunday? The New Jersey Generals.
Well, let me tell you what. This is a far cry from your database rankings in college football, where it is a pure meritocracy. You are doing quite a bit of projecting, quite a bit of eye testing here.
Well, in college football, you have 133 teams, so it's impossible to see it on the field. When you have 8, we're going to see it on the field.
Yeah, I do think that the head-to-head results in college football must be, taken much more seriously. Whereas when there are 8 teams, you can adjust a little more.
No, you're going to know the real champion. Like when you have 8 teams and you play a 10-week schedule, and then
by the end of it, yes.
Yeah, you know, there's no denying that the Birmingham Stallions are the best team in the league last year. If so, I would argue that all day with somebody, right? And this year, I think we're going to probably find out the best team in the league. And so
what makes you think that the Generals, despite having lost to Birmingham, who New Orleans just beat, are better than New Orleans?
I think you had this. Well, first off, you saw the Generals last year lose the first game and then win 9 straight. I think that could happen in this scenario here because they were breaking in a brand new defensive coordinator. Ted Cottrell taking over for Chris Dishman. They do not run a lot of the same shit. So there was that. They also had the situation where I thought the game management didn't break down the way that there was. DeAndre Johnson had a really bad game passing, and I just felt like we watched DeAndre Johnson all last year. He never looked that bad as he did week 1. Trey Williams didn't even play in the fucking game, and he hasn't played yet this season.
I saw him get like 1 or 2 plays, I think.
No, but not in Birmingham. Not in the Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I just think the team is back to where they were a year ago. Yes, they don't have Kevontae Turpin, but I still think they're very explosive. And I just feel like honestly, and I thought they were like the second best team in the league last year. I know Philadelphia beat them and got to the championship game, but I feel like
I agree. I think they were better than Philly last year.
Well, now you add in all those injuries to Birmingham that have happened. Even though they have the same record of Birmingham and Birmingham has beat them head to head.
Strong point.
I would rather if I was the coach of the Memphis Showboats and you're telling me who I'd rather play next week, I would say give me Birmingham. Even though we just lost by 40, give me Birmingham because New Jersey is rolling right now.
Is healthy and similarly talented.
Now, am I fascinated by this matchup on Sunday? Yes. And this is at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, Canton, Ohio, baby. New Jersey Generals are going to beat them. This is a letdown spot for the Breakers. I'm getting ahead of ourselves because I know we got the pick show to do on Thursday. But I'm putting the Generals at number 1. Putting the Generals at 1, and I'm putting the Breakers at 2. Let's go.
You will have your answer. You will have your definitive answer on Sunday.
And then at number 3, so who's your second team?
I had Birmingham still at number 2. So I have them ahead of the Generals because they beat the Generals. You see, Colby, I practice that
whole team's gone. They're out for the year.
The element of logic it factors into my rankings here. So because they beat them head to head, I'm going to give it to Birmingham.
So let me ask you this then. So like when the Miami Dolphins beat the 85 Bears, does that mean the Miami Dolphins are the best team in the league?
Well, the fact that the Bears had the better record, I think, is a data point that might suggest Bears were better. But since these two teams have identical records and Birmingham beat them head-to-head, I'm going to give it to the Stallions.
All right. Well,
they had a bad week. New Orleans came out slinging. Bethel Thompson was great. Wes Hills, they didn't have the answer for. Maybe they got cocky, like you said. I bet they bounce back in spectacular fashion. This is the defending champ you're talking about.
I actually think they are going to bounce back. But let's get this. So my number 3 team is your Stallions. Who's your number 3 team? Generals, I take it?
Generals, yeah.
All right. Number 4 team. I think this
is straightforward.
Michigan Panthers, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're clear cut the 4th best team in the league right now.
And then the next 3 is where it gets interesting.
I got to go Philly at 5. I still think Philly's a team that can make the playoffs, and it wouldn't even shock me if they ended up in the – they got to get better in the Freedom Cup, but I'm saying they got to get better on the offensive line. Especially like Pittsburgh can fuck with them. And this year the North isn't as shitty with Michigan being better. And I actually think Pittsburgh, even though they still have a very bad offense, they're better than what they were a year ago. So I think it's harder for them. Last year they kind of cruised into the playoffs because the really Michigan and Pittsburgh were that bad. This year it's going to be a little harder. So it's a big week for Philadelphia.
Who did the Stars beat?
Memphis, barely.
See, that makes me think maybe we have our rankings wrong because the Maulers did beat the Stars, and the Stars' only win is a close win over the only 0-3 team.
But I don't think they ever trailed that game. I think they dominated. I know the final score says 3 points or something, but I believe that they were up from start to finish in that game. It is a big week, though, for me to learn about the Philadelphia Stars. But
we're assuming they're somewhat the team they were last year.
They have most of the same roster, so I don't understand it. They're my number 5 team. Are they your number 5 team?
Yeah, I mean, if they were mostly the same roster and they were like a minute away from being the champions last year, you would have to drop them down to like number 7. But yeah, they're number 5.
So then at number 6, this is where it gets interesting. I got the Houston Gamblers.
Me too.
Okay. They have more offense than Pittsburgh, and I feel like their win was less fluky than Pittsburgh's.
Yeah, I mean, there's something I think you're right about the matchup between Pittsburgh and Philly, where it's like if you get too cute and you have like that offense might work around a softer defense and most defenses, but when you have a defense that absolutely flies around like Pittsburgh's does and confuses you in the passing game and is able to generate pass rush without committing too many blitz or like committing to the blitz too much, then I mean that was always the only time the Steelers were ever able to beat the Patriots was when they stopped blitzing because Brady would pick them apart when they blitzed, but when they were able to generate a pass rush with 3 or 4 down linemen, I mean that's how the Giants would always beat the Patriots. It's like you got that NASCAR pass rush. And it's like Tom Brady, his whole bread and butter is picking you apart, and he can't do it when you have 8 guys in coverage or 7 guys back in coverage. So I think that's kind of what happened. They dropped a bunch, confused on the back end, and then were still able to generate pressure, and that offense crumbled.
And so that means you have them at 7, though.
Yeah, I got them at 7. Well, I got
Pittsburgh at 7.
Yeah, just because their offense is so terrible. What's the quarterback's name?
Troy Williams from Utah, but they also use who's the other guy that they were using a couple weeks ago? I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Let me tell you what.
Bowling Green, Florida International. James Morgan.
Also not necessarily a big name. Yeah. Well, this should tell you everything you need to know. I saw several times where they had 2 white running backs in the backfield. So Pittsburgh, we got to get this thing figured out. On the offensive side of the ball.
Ray Horton was like, damn it, I used to go up against John Riggins, and that motherfucker was good. All right? Garrett Groshek, you're Riggins 2.0. And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. All right. Look, those are our power rankings, folks. Subscribe to the USFL Gambling Podcast. We're on Twitter at USFL Gambling. And subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you hear podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Go hop on over there. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. Give myself a follow at the Colby D. Also, check out the College Football Experience, which we also host, as well as the XFL Gambling Podcast, as their championship game is next week. But we're Team USFL over here, right? But we love all football, so check out that and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. And until Thursday when we have our preview and pick show for Week 4. See you then, folks, and take it easy until then. This is the USFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
If you see him him on the street and tip your hat his way. You'll know just where he's headed and which game he's gonna play. He's a sharpshooter gunman and always aiming high. To win any gunfight, his limit is the sky. We're the gunslingers, on set and tone. We're the gunslingers, on the road or at home. Remember the Alamo, for such as we are known. We're the gunslingers.